Leaders. The forefront of the company and an inspiration to all employees. Leadership is the thing that can make or break a company. It's the art of getting people to do things. Sometimes it creates innovation, teamwork, and inspires greatness. Other times it ends with bankruptcy, a documentary on Netflix, and inspires lawsuits. Nowadays, leadership literature is ripe with all kinds of explanations as to what makes good leaders and why. And the Mouton managerial grid is one such attempt. Developed in 1964, it maps leaders along two axes: concern for people and concern for productivity, and identifies 5 distinct leadership styles. In the northwest corner, we have a leader who has high concern for employees and low concern for productivity. In other words, it's someone who prioritizes keeping employees happy over actually running the business. The office vibe is usually fantastic. People love working there, and there's always a fully stocked snack bar and amazing staff parties. But at some point, someone has to ask, are we actually making any money? Hence the name Country Club Manager. One of the greater examples of this are the early days of WeWork's attempt at an employee-centric culture. CEO and party-in-chief Adam Newman bought endless rounds of alcohol for the office and often partied late into the night in what Reeves Wiedemann called a tequila-fueled leadership style, while the company itself was losing huge amounts of money. You might think this is your dream job, but you will eventually lose your job when the ship goes down. In the southeast corner, we have a leader who has low concern for employees and high concern for productivity. It's a leader who sees employees not as people, but as numbers on a spreadsheet. Here, the goal is pretty simple: maximum efficiency at any cost. Hence the name Produce or Perish. You might have heard of Amazon and their production quotas. For each employee, there's a certain production rate that you're expected to meet, with failure to reaching that number resulting in write-ups and warnings. Employee safety and welfare seems to be an afterthought, with one warehouse in New York reporting 19.8 serious injuries per 100 workers. In the southwest corner, we have a leader who has low concern for both people and production. A person who has somehow ended up in charge, but seems completely uninterested in actually leading. They don't push for results, they don't support employees, and they avoid making any real decisions. This is the impoverished manager. And no one embodied this style better than Eddie Lampert at Sears and Kmart. Once, 2 of the biggest and most known retailers in the British colonies, Sears collapsed under Lampert's leadership, or more accurately, his lack of it. He refused to invest in its deteriorating stores and became infamous for his detached and dysfunctional leadership, earning a colorful collection of nicknames including Fast Buck Eddie, because he prioritized quick profits over long-term success; the Magician, because no one could figure out where the company's money went; the Doctor, because instead of healing Sears, he seemed to be performing an autopsy; No Vision Eddie, captain of the Kmart Titanic, hedge your bet Lampert, and take the money and run Lampert. Under his leadership, Sears went from being a household name to retail ghost town. Yet through it all, Lampert insisted that Sears was on the right track. In the northeast corner, we have the perfect leader. They have a high concern for both employees and production, and manage to balance the two. Employees feel valued, operations run smoothly, and innovation is encouraged, giving birth to the name Team Manager. In an ideal world, every company would be led by a team manager, but in reality, these leaders are rare. Historically, the airline Southwest has always been a prime example of this. They've emphasized a family culture, placing employees first in fostering a supportive and inclusive work environment. Pilots, flight attendants, and ground crew were not just workers, they were valued team members. And all this while simultaneously turning a profit for 47 consecutive years from 1973 through 2019. Southwest's philosophy was simple: happy employees make happy customers, and happy customers bring in profits. Under the leadership of legendary CEO Herb Kelleher, the airline pioneered a business model that kept printing money without sacrificing employee satisfaction until it didn't. Lastly, moving to the middle of the grid, we find a leader who tries to balance productivity and employee satisfaction, but doesn't really excel at either: the middle of the road manager. Employees don't hate working for them, but they're not exactly inspired either. They make just enough effort to avoid total disaster, but they never push the company towards real success. At the end of the day, leadership is about choices. How to balance priorities, how to motivate people, and how to drive results. The Mouton grid lays out clear categories, but in reality most leaders don't fit perfectly into one box. The idea that the team manager is the ultimate goal might sound great in theory, but in practice, leaders have to adapt constantly. Sometimes you have to be a producer parish boss when deadlines are tight. Other times, a country club approach might be what keeps morale up during tough times. So, while the grid is a fun way to label different leadership styles, real-life leadership is more like jazz. It's improvised, messy, and sometimes, despite your best efforts, a complete disaster.